Welcome to our weekly Friday Talk and Tour series when we share the opportunity to visit the studios of our wonderful artists and hear about their works and inspiration. These visits are brought to you by the Duncan McClellan Gallery and the DMG School Project of St. Petersburg, Florida. Thank you for joining us.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm really glad to see everyone, and I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate our team, Mary, Danielle, Irene, that put this together. And I particularly appreciate our guests being here because it's late night for them. Hi, how are you? I'm really glad to have you, and I think you'll find it fascinating. We have a couple of things that I want to tell you. The gallery has a wonderful show up right now of Mark Laputa, John Goldberg, and Martin Rosal. And so if you're in St. Petersburg or near us, please stop in. We'd love to have you. We also have a Deanna Clayton master workshop, and we call it a master class, but it's really designed for people that have never really worked in glass before. And it's a 2-day workshop, and everybody walks out making a really wonderful piece. And every time we have Deanna, the class sells out. So we would love to have you join us for that. We have Aya Oki still here doing her 3-week residency. And we have some of her works on display. And we also have on our YouTube channel, if you have grandkids or kids that are coming over and you want to entertain them and educate them a little bit, Danielle, Dan, and Lauren Hill, our coordinator for DMG, has been working on a series of videos to kind of for an example, they just did one on gas, solid, and liquid. So it's a great thing to download, but I really want to thank you for being here. Great to see you, and take it away, Mary.
Oh, thanks, Duncan. Again, thank you everyone for being here today. As Duncan said, we have a lot of things going in the gallery and the Hot Glass Studio. Today is also the opening of the virtual and in-house show From the Kattegat with the Glasskibe project. So we have pieces in the gallery, and there are also pieces available through our catalog that is available for you online. With us today, BACKHAUS-BROWN and sorry, how do you?
Egeværk.
EVAC Studios from Denmark. Thank you. And it's 10 o'clock at night at Denmark, and they're here to share their story, share their work, share their procedure, and really, really excited to do that. So I'm going to share my screen, and you'll see a little bit about their studio, and then we'll go into a video that really gets in depth about what's behind their collaboration, and then we'll proceed from there, and they'll share even more. So again, thank you everyone for being here. Bear with me for a moment while I share my screen here. Okay. So Glasskibe, and I don't know if you folks would like to talk about just the meaning of that word.
Andrew, would you start?
Yes, well, glass being glass in English and in Danish. Glass is only with one S in Danish, and skibe is a ship. So it's playing with word again here. It's now as a glass ship. And ships are what we're working with is from the Viking heritage and history.
And then this is where you met.
This is the harbor of Hundested. It's a small fishing village just north of Copenhagen. And what you see here on these pictures is at the right side is the glass studio, and the left side is the woodworking studio. Yeah.
And if you'd like to introduce yourselves, these are two 2 different studios, 4 artists, and you're all here today.
Yes.
Like it. Well, going from the left, the guy with no hair, that's me, and the beard, that's Andrew. Born in England, moved to Denmark for about 30 years ago, and where I met Nana, and been working here with Nana at our studio.
Thank you.
Cool.
And Nana.
And yes, my name is Nana BACKHAUS-BROWN, and I'm Danish, and I started to blow glass here in Denmark in 1998, sorry, and moved to France, where I met Andrew, and we moved both back to Denmark again and built a studio in 92, and in 2008 we built this studio here in Hundested, where we are now.
Yeah, and then it's me. Hello, everybody. My name is Mette Benson. I'm 42 years old, and I've been working with wood for a couple of years now, or I don't really remember.
Many years.
Many years. And before that, I had a sailboat, and I traveled around the world in that. So I've been watching the waves a lot, like the Vikings used to do. And like Andrew, I think I'm also very interested in the history of Denmark and the Vikings. Yeah.
And I'm Lasse, the guy at the far right with the very green shoelaces. I've been a cabinet maker for quite a long time, and I've been participating in the national Danish national skills of cabinet making and the world skills of cabinet making. I didn't want the world skills, but I still participated. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Danielle now is going to share a screen, which is going to tell your story.
Når håndværkere mødes og er lige passionerede om deres fag, så bliver man helt naturlige legekammerater. Og det var vel, hvad der skete med de her skibe. Skibene er et fælles projekt mellem 2 værksteder. Og på den ene side, der har vi Egeværk, som jo er Lasses og mit værksted. Og på den anden side, der er Glassmedien, det er BACKHAUS-BROWN, Nana og Andrews værksted. Og vi ligger side om side, og det var jo sådan, det her fælles legekammeratforhold begyndte. Vikingerne havde jo en helt fantastisk håndværkstradition. Men ikke alene var de banebrydende, højteknologiske bådebyggere, de var også æstetikere. Og især når man ser på stævnene af skibene, kan man se de her ufattelig smukke planketræk, som jo viser en æstetisk bevidsthed, som vel næppe er overgået siden. Her der går vi simpelthen ind og arbejder meget med at forfine bækhåndværk i værket. Det er altså lykkes rigtig godt. Glasset vil normalt have lyset til at vandre hele vejen rundt, men træet går ind og bryder den her vandring af lyset, og det giver en helt anden dybde på glasset og den måde, man oplever det færdige værk på. I starten der mødes vi alle sammen og diskuterer alle detaljerne i værket. Det kan være størrelsen, det kan være formen, det kan være farverne og hvilken type dekorationer, der skal tilføres, hvilke detaljer vi skal have ind i værket. Så har vi det her fælles udgangspunkt at starte ud fra. Og i det her tilfælde, der er det jo bølgerne, vi arbejder med. Så det her projekt, det handler jo rigtig meget om, at vi i virkeligheden er 4 hoveder, som går ind og tager styringen. Og så har vi hver vores hold på hver vores værksted, har de 2 materialer og de 2 håndværk. Og det giver jo selvfølgelig nogle udfordringer under produktionen i samarbejdssituationen. Og der har vi jo givet hinanden nogle friheder. Så hvis der er en eller anden flippet idé, jamen så skal den også afprøves.
Når vi går en tur langs stranden, det er noget af det bedste. Det giver både luft til hjernen, og det giver, altså farverne er helt utrolige. Både med stenene og sandet og vandet og tang og alt det der er nogle fantastiske farver. Det tænker man ikke altid lige over. Jeg bliver virkelig drillet af hele familien over, at jeg kun har sort tøj. Fordi jeg elsker farver. Altså. Det lyder lidt, nu skal du ikke tage det her med, men der er et eller andet med ild og vand, ikke? Altså, det kan godt være lidt for men det er der bare. Det giver mig rigtig meget at være et sted, hvor man sidder og arbejder hver dag, og faktisk føler, at man sidder nærmest midt i naturen og kigger ud over vandet. Der er jo forskellige farver hver eneste dag, alt efter om det blæser, eller om det er gråvejr, eller det er stille. Så ser man lige pludselig, den farveskala, man arbejder med, det er jo havet, og det er naturen, der kommer ind. Når man tilsætter farverne, så kan man gøre det. Man kommer meget lidt på nogle områder, og noget mere på nogle andre områder. Så det ligesom toner sig ud. Lidt ligesom en bølge. Så er den jo lys nogle steder, så er den mørk nogle steder. Selvom man har pustet glas i rigtig mange år, man lærer noget hver eneste dag. Der er hele tiden noget nyt. Man skal være en del af glasset for ligesom at få det til at gøre det, man godt kunne tænke sig. Fordi glasset kunne meget godt tænke sig at gøre nogle helt andre ting. Altså bare den mindste detalje eller den mindste fejl, så ryger det helt på gulvet.
Til at arbejde med glas er en spændende materie, fordi den er flydende, den er varm, den er kold, den er hård, den er blød. Der er en magisk med varmt glas. Glasset er den her levende materie, som har sin egen mening. På mange måder glas er meget, meget vanskeligt til at arbejde med. Fordi når du tror, du får den rigtigt, så er det ikke rigtigt alligevel. Fordi glas til sidst bestemmer. Det er virkelig sjovt. Så kan du få lige pludselig lyset spille igennem de refleksioner, ikke bare på oversiden af glas, men inde i glasset. Og den er udtryk, jeg prøver at arbejde med. Det er måske meget enkelt form, men hvor jeg arbejder videre med den i koldværkset og sliber og få nogle spil i lys og slibning og farven. Det synes jeg det er meget, meget spændende, hvordan du kan få forskellige slags udtryk med glas og lys, og hvordan du behandler dem, efter du har pustet dem. Ja, en af mine yndlingssteder, det er faktisk bare at gå ned ved Glasskibe Fjord, hvor vi bor. Bare kigge over vandet, kigge på lys, hvordan de falder på vandet. Ja, du kan sidde og bare drømme og fantasere, og der er veldig højt af himlen også. Det er et sted, hvor jeg kan samle nogle energi og nogle tanker. Det er skønt, når vi har så mange mennesker på værkstedet hver dag. Hvis jeg tænker på mit arbejde og det slibning, jeg laver i glas, det er noget med den refleksioner, og der er noget helt specielt i det der vandoverflade. Og det jeg kan sige forskellige slags mønstre, og specielt hvordan lys lige falder i byllerne. Nogle gange det er stor og vildt, og nogle ligesom groft slibning nogle gange, og det er nogle fine snit, og det er fordi, det er bare en stille aften.
Vi har en stor grad af frihed i vores arbejde på de 2 forskellige værksteder. Sådan så, at på glasværkstedet, der laver man jo formen på glasset. Vi har haft en dialog, men ellers er det jo frit spil. Det er jo Andrew og Nana og deres hold, der dikterer, hvad er det, at vi ender ud med af glas. Og så får vi jo glasset ind på vores værksted, og så begynder vi at specificere formen, som selvfølgelig tager udgangspunkt i glassets form, men alligevel har nogle friheder i selve udformningen. Og det fungerer smadret godt, fordi at det giver jo noget til projektet, at det ikke er fuldstændig gennemtænkt, men at der bliver arbejdet videre med det. Når vi er nede hos vores trællemontør og skal vælge de helt rette planker til skibene, så bruger vi lang tid på at mærke på træet. Fordi man kan jo mærke, hvor tungt det er. så kan du definere, hvor tørt er det, og hvor lang tid har det ligget, og hvor roligt vil det være i den videre forarbejdningsproces. Så kigger vi på farven af det, og så kigger vi på strukturen. Til skibene, der bruger vi egetræ. Egetræ var jo også det, at vikingerne godt vidste, man blev nødt til at bygge både af, fordi egetræ har så meget garvesyre helt naturligt i sig, og gør jo, at det ikke rådner i vandet. Egetræ har rigtig meget spejl i sig, som er utrolig smukt, og vi elsker at bruge, når vi laver skibene. Det perspektiv, når man står med træet, at vide, at det er så meget ældre, og det har set så meget, det har været igennem verdenskrige. Nogle gange sidder der jo hagl eller kugler og projektiler inde i træet, fordi det har jo oplevet alle de her ting, fra før man selv blev født. Det er noget, der indgiver respekt for materialet, og mit liv i hele det spil er jo bare sådan en kort lille øjeblik.
Hvis vi som mennesker gik rundt i en verden forladt af arkitektur eller kunst, ville vi være fattige mennesker. Når jeg går rundt og kigger på skulpturer eller kunst generelt, så oplever jeg en enorm glæde, når jeg finder noget, der er velskabt. Hvor der er tænkt over formerne, hvor formerne er, som de skal være. Det er en utrolig glæde at opleve det. Det er meget zoomet ind på enkelte ting, jeg altid observerer. Og selvfølgelig kan man ikke undgå at blive inspireret af det, men rigtig meget af det er den her fascination af at måske eksempelvis to enkelte linjer, der mødes, og hvordan de mødes. Det kan fylde utrolig meget og betyde rigtig meget for det samlede objekt. Jeg ser jo former i alt. Jeg ser overflader i alt. Det er bare en følelse af, hvornår det er rigtigt. Det kan godt være, det er mig, der fysisk sidder og former skibet, men alle de tanker, der har været, da vi havde dialogen, er stadig med i den formgivning. Nogle gange så støder vi på ting, der gør, at vi lige bliver nødt til at kigge på det igen. Og det er faktisk sådan en ongoing dialog, helt ind til træet er færdigt. Former og formgivning er for mig en viden, der kan være svær direkte at give videre. Jeg tror mere, at man skal betegne det som en tavs viden. I virkeligheden så sker der sgu ikke så meget inde i hovedet. Det er så meget meditativt i virkeligheden. Det hele ligger i fingerspidserne, og selvfølgelig også noget visuelt, men det er den visuelle kombineret med følelsen, der gør, at jeg får de her linjer til at flyde sammen, og får det hele til at ligge, som det skal. Jeg håber med vores håndværk, at vi kan være med til at ændre folks liv, gøre glæden større ved de objekter, de får i hånden, og det, de kan kigge på.
Bedste øjeblik i den her proces er jo, når det her skib har fået foden på, og det står for sig selv, får sit eget liv, og vi slipper det. Den nordiske mytologi er en meget dramatisk verden, fuld af farver, der er ild, og der er vand og fornemmelser. Så når vi har et færdigt skib, så er det bare at finde et gudebillede eller en anden historie, der passer til. Og så har vi et navn. Røn er datter af Ægi og Ran, det nordiske gudepar, der hersker over havet. Ifølge myterne levede Ægi og Ran i prægtige guldbelagte sale i Kattegat under øen Læsø, der ligger midt mellem Danmark og Sverige. Røn er en af parrets 9 døtre. Alle 9 piger har navne, der er en symbolsk og poetisk reference til bølger og bølgers egenskaber. De 9 søstre fortolkes også som bølgernes åndelige dimension og blev alle mødre til Heimdall, som var Asgårds gådefulde vogter.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for making that film. It explains a little bit about your, you know, the origins of what you're doing, but we also, you know, want to hear more about, you know, about the actual process when you're actually in your workshops. So let's see, we have a PowerPoint here for you, and let's just get it up. Okay. Does anyone have any questions right at the moment while we're getting ready to share the rest of the presentation? Duncan is muted.
No.
Actually, somebody asked about the chair. Is that one of the makings of you make, or are you just a beautiful chair?
Yeah, no, we make that chair, and it's in a collaboration with a young Danish designer that we started collaborating with years ago, and we've just been making, several of those since then. And we needed a chair for the movie, and the producers thought that was a nice chair to sit.
Almost like a throne.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It's a beautiful
Well,
chair.
actually, somebody just asked, are they available in the United States? And I can assure you that they are in our gallery. So all you have to do is give us a call and we'll make that happen. Also, someone asked about are any two alike? And I'd like to, I know the answer, but you go ahead and answer it.
Andrew?
No, there's no two ships alike. They're all unique, all individual. And as Mary will explain a little bit later, each has their own name and story. When the ship is finished, it'll be sort of christened and gets its name. But we'll get into that later.
From the Nordic.
Wonderful. Well, Mette, you sent these pictures, these historical pictures that give inspiration to the ships. Can you explain a little bit about what this is that we're looking at?
Yes. What we're looking at here is one of our recent pieces, and to understand why it is given the name it is, which is the unknown Asynje. Asynje is a goddess. In the northern mythology, the male and female gods were equal. And what you see in this old drawing, is the Asynje Frigg. She was the wife of the main god Odin. And she is sitting on her throne and has 4 or 3 helpers. You know, they were actually her servants, helping her with everyday life. She was very wise, a wise goddess, and she would advise Odin in his decisions. And the ship here is called Unknown Asynje because there is a lot of different goddesses. And the unknown Asynje, you don't really know much about her, except that she can do whatever all the other Asynjes are not able to do. And the story doesn't tell what that is. And that's really a typical thing for the Northern mythology, because it's, you know, nothing is black and white, and they are always fighting, and it's very dramatic, but it's also very inspiring stories. And this piece is called Nika, and Nika is another name, a nickname for Odin, which is the main god of Northern mythology. And what you see in this old drawing, of course, is Odin. And how you can tell this is Odin is because he only has one eye. One of his eyes he gave to receive wisdom. So he actually, you know, he offered one of his eyes to become very wise. And you can also recognize this is Odin because he got the 2 ravens on his shoulders or sitting Hugin and Munin, they would fly out every day and discover what was going on and fly back and tell him, so he knew everything. And the two wolves at his feet was always there. They're called Frege and Gera, and they're really nasty beasts. So they would guard him, and you couldn't get to him. This is another piece we made. This ship is called Jord, which in Danish means earth. And she was the mother of the god Thor. Thor, we call him in Danish. I think you might have heard about him as well. The father was Odin. He has a lot of children. You can see Thor on this drawing. You see him riding in the sky with his hammer, Mjolnir, which produce all the lightning. And they really often use these incredible stories to tell whatever you did not understand at the time, how come there is lightning. And so that was whenever Thor was riding and making, probably a bit angry and making all this light. His wagon was carried in the sky by 2 goats. And these goats have funny names as well. And we also do have pieces that are called those names. So you can buy a goat.
Okay.
Andrew, do you want to tell a bit about this?
Well, I would like to, of course. This is a ship which is in Oslo and was found in the early 19th century. This is quite a large and beautiful ship, and it was a burial ship, which was actually believed to be a king's ship, but it wasn't. When they did the DNA, it was 2 women, so it was a queen's ship, which is full of treasures and jewelry and weapons, animals, and all sorts of things to carry the queen into the next life. We've been up and visited this, and it is an absolutely stunning piece of craftsmanship and shipbuilding with many, many details of woodwork on it, as you can see here on the front of the bow. So Mette, you can explain.
Yes, these are just details of the actual ship that was found, and it's so well preserved because it was in a cave and also underneath clay, so that all the wood is or the details of the carvings in the wood are so well preserved. It's quite incredible. The other stern you see here is another ship also from Norway, also very well preserved. But what we notice is the pointy stern and the beautiful lines that the planks of the ships are making. So we are pretty convinced that the boat builders were not alone excellent craftsmen. They were really, they really understood aesthetics and how to build these ships so they would sail well, but also to be really, really beautiful. That's very inspiring.
So here's your translation, right? From the classical ships, and now you're trying to bring this into the studio and recreate that aesthetic.
Yes, you say it's looking at example on this ship, looking at the bow and aft, that's the details of Lasse and Mette created in the woodwork. It was just symbolism of what was happening back in the Viking period, where the heads of the ship, the bows of the ships were decorated, and this is also to show who people were, how prestigious they were, and also telling for friend or foe. And this is where Lasse, perhaps you want to explain more, or Mette want to explain more about this idea of the details of playing with this sort of idea in history.
Yeah, well, of course, we just studied the ships, and then we do they are all abstract, and we do our take on what we think would fit, but also, just be beautiful. Yeah, the sterns of the Viking ships were decorated by the same guy. So if from a certain area they would build boats, and it would be the same guy that would decide how the design of the stern would be, like a dragon head, for example. So you could actually recognize the ships from where they originated because you know, the same guy would have designed all the hits. But these, I mean, to build a ship was just incredible amount of work, and to do all those decorations also tells us something about that the Vikings were doing quite well. I mean, they had enough food and they were safe and they had enough materials to do quite extraordinary building or boats. Yeah.
So you explained that in your collaboration, it starts with the glass. So we have a little video of the glass making process at BACKHAUS-BROWN. And there's not much sound. So Andrew and Nana, if you have anything to say, you can narrate over this.
Well, it's good to know there's not much sound because it's actually very, very noisy in the workshop. So you can see trying to blow a piece like this, it's not just myself. We have our team around us. The team changes, but we have some fast people like Nana and Paul who are always here. So again, we start off, as you might want to explain in a bit, about the colour work. But it's a blown vessel. When it's cold, we'll be shaping and cutting it and get the right shape.
And a lot of cold work.
Oh, there's the sound.
There's the sound. So,
yeah. Are you cutting it?
So there's lots of preparation work of the blown piece first, and then hours and hours of cold working to get the right shape as we want for the piece. So here we're just trying to split it and get it to the start of where I'm going to be start cutting and getting the right form for the hull.
It looks so easy, but a lot of them break. I mean, I don't think you told that, Andrew, yet.
No. Unfortunately, it's, again, I don't know how many of you know about the process of hot glass making, but there's a lot of things can go wrong in that part of it. Glass being glass, there could be small imperfections or small bubbles or just break whilst you're trying to blow it because you're trying to push the limits of what you can do with the glass. And if that bit succeeds and it's all annealed and cool, and then next day you're going to work on it, yes, things could happen there too. But sometimes it works. We get there. So here, after we've cut the piece and shaped it up to the sort of the shape of the body, then I can begin to decorate it with cutting techniques used by usually with diamond tools. This is called battuto, an Italian technique. So he's just slowly going through, trying to do the same cut each time, perhaps changing it, could be getting smaller and smaller or deeper and deeper. But this is just to give the effects of what we see outside from our studio, is how the water and the light reacts on the surface in the small waves. You see on my left-hand side, where my hand is, there's also decoration in the border. And these patterning is, again, from the Viking periods, from about 700 to 1100, which is very fine sandblasted details into the glass.
So from the glass, once you have pieces that have survived, then you go on to the workshop, I guess, right?
I would say this is
now finished. And sorry, Lass, I was saying the shape is now finished. It's all polished up, and then I'll pass it over to Meadow and Lass's workshop, and where that's their department, and that's how they begin to decide and how the woodwork is. There you go, Lass.
I would say one of the most amazing things about, in my opinion, with the glass is that it's not only just one side that needs to be perfect, but it's actually two sides of the ship that needs to fit each other and exactly the same size and shape, color, and everything. I know it's come out of the same bubble, but it's really, really unique, and that's just truly amazing. But when all of the glass has survived, we get it to our studio, And then we start, as shown in the short movie, that creating the shaping of the wood.
And you see me here with a plank of oak. This is the light colored oak. Oak contains a lot of tannin, and you can actually fume that with ammonia fume, so it becomes all dark. And it's not just dark on the surface. When the wood feels the moist from the fumes, it transported right through its cells, and it color itself all the way through. And this is a white plank of oak, and it tells the width of it tells something about the age. Normally these trees are at least 130 years old before they are cut down and ready for us to use, because the oak grows very slowly. And many of these trees, you know, they've been around for so long that it's just amazing. They were probably, some of them were meant for the Danish Navy to build warships, you know, when they were planted. But of course, in all those years it takes for the tree to grow up, the needs of wood for the Navy, of course, changed. So now they are steel. But it's amazing to stand with such an historical material. Yeah, and this is the design process where Lasse and I discuss the shapes, and sometimes this turns, quite often it turns into a bit of an argument, but that's all fun. And I really think it gets better when we are, yeah, two heads instead of one.
The thing about this process is that we really take a lot of looks and gazing into the glass, the shape of the glass, the color, the texture, everything. We're trying to make it fuse together with the wood, so it don't seem like two foreign materials that's put together, but kind of like it turns out to be one merged final piece. That's the really most important job of this process.
Yeah, and then when we got the design with all the angles and lines, I start making the pieces that would turn out. Yeah, actually, it's just it's the joints and the construction of the keel. And even though you see several pieces of wood here, it's always from the same plank. We would never use wood for one piece from two different trees, because they would not look the same. It would look silly, and also they would not patinate alike, you know. So in 10 years they would maybe change colors uneven, and that's just some of the details you need to think about. And also these are very delicate constructions and very fine woodwork. I mean, not the really small details and fragile details. So we need to use a lot of different techniques by turning pieces. When we put a light colored piece into the top here, sometimes we turn it so the direction of the tree is the other way, just to build up a strength in the construction, so you can do details that would normally break off if you do not turn one side of the wood. I hope you understand. Yeah, and these joints are very precise. It's you feel the tightness of the joint like 100 of a millimeter. I mean, it's just have to fit exactly right, because if it does that, it will last forever. And even though they're glued the glue would only last for maybe 20 years. But if the joints are very precise, it will, I mean, never fall apart. So.
The thing about woodworking is that when we're gluing two pieces of wood together, it's it's important that they fit, because it's not only the glue that holds it together, but there's the entire construction of the pieces. So actually, it's wood on wood contact that makes a wooden joint strong. It's not the glue.
No.
Does anyone have any questions at this point? I can't, Irene, I don't know if you can see if anyone has any comments. This is a good place.
Okay, there are quite a few.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Did the Viking ship have all those different designs at the ends, is one of the questions.
They were pointy, and they would often decorate, if it's an important ship, if they were going to war, they wanted to, symbolize that they were strong or whatever, so they would make, but the normal trade ship would normally not be that decorated that we do. So it would be different. Yeah. Andrew, you want to say?
You see, if you ever come to Denmark and come to visit a town called Roskilde, the city of Roskilde, there's a Viking museum there where they found ships in the harbour. And what they discovered, and after they've brought the ships up into the museum and reconstructed them, that they found out that the heads of the ships, on some of the, as Meda said, the vital ships, the warships or the king's ships, these heads were detachable. So these were held in place by 2 iron rings. And of course, on normal sailing, they'd be removed because it would be in the way and things like this. But obviously when they needed to show strength or symbolism, so these heads would be put on. So there were many kinds of heads, as the Danish Viking Museum explains.
But also on the Vikings, these ships are not like Viking, the old Viking ships. They are like a
interpretation.
Yes, like a, how do you say?
Abstractions.
Artistic.
Interpretations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we're also being asked, what is the actual translation of Playmates? Is that available in the US?
What? Sorry?
Playmates?
I didn't understand that.
Okay, well, it starts out, wonderful film. I also love the chair, great Danish design. Are any two alike? What is the actual translation of Playmates?
Legekammerater.
Oh.
Susan Fingerman asked this.
Yeah.
Okay.
The translation of Playmates.
It's
It's someone to work together with, collaboration.
ping pong with ideas, bounce ideas off each other.
Play with.
To work together, collaborate.
Try out crafts, ideas.
Trying to push limits. Yeah.
Okay, and another question somebody asked is why you don't shape it hot, shape the hot glass, rather than that cold working.
It wouldn't be possible, not as I can do, because it's so precise, as explained. It's just not the shape and the length of the ship. It's the join. It's the 2 plain edges of the inside edges that has to fit the wood.
Completely like a millimeter.
And this has to be exactly flat. Otherwise, we would not be able to attach. And you wouldn't be able to do this in hot glass because the hot glass would be round and smooth on the edges and wouldn't be able to be attached
to the wood.
And that leads into somebody else had asked, how long on average does this glass and wood marriage take? I know you have different size ships, but are you able to answer that?
From 40 hours upwards.
200.
Yeah. Depends on the size, how many I break. Depends on the detail of wood.
This size or this size.
Yeah. So.
Some of them are 2 colors as well, which is quite difficult for you to make, I think.
Yeah, two blown cups blowing inside each other, so they give us the 2 or actually 3 colors. This was more time consuming just to blow 1 bubble with 1 color.
So, go ahead, Mette.
I just say the bigger pieces are a lot more difficult than the smaller pieces.
So we're coming in now to we saw some images of the basic joinery and trying to figure out the angles, but now to answer that question, we'll see some more of what has to be maneuvered as the 2 studios try to put these 2 materials together. So here you see they've created the basics of putting the angled wood together, and now Lessa, you're proceeding, right, with the.
Yeah, we are at this point. We have duplicated the drawing to the wood, and also the glass has been on the wood at this point to do an exact the exact line of where the inside of the glass is, and then it's roughly cut. at this point.
Try to go ahead, man.
And then I kind of like move on to, this is a belt sander, everything is freehand. So even if it is a machine, I still uses freehand, a feeling of how to create this shape of the keel, only by the sound and the feel of the vibrations that the machine gives back to me. So no guidelines, nothing to work together with here. It's just
Freehand shaping,
freehand
basically. Yeah. I know, I mean, I do know a lot of woodworkers, but I don't know anybody that is able to do this. So if you see the sterns of some of the ships, the precision of that woodwork is, I mean, they are so thin, the layers of the light colors going to the dark colored, that, I mean, just one stroke of a sanding paper and it would change the lines. Lasse, he's incredible.
And also, for those of you who are lucky enough to see these ships in person, the subtlety of the angles and those little curves are just really beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, well, these are runes, which were, you know, the way the Viking would write. They would write these in stones, or yeah, probably carve in wood as well. These are the elderly runes, and Lasse is carving those by hand. I cannot remember what that one was saying, but every now and then we have a commission piece. We are actually making one now that has to remind a person of somebody who's passed away. And sometimes we find a suiting story from the Northern mythology, but also we have made their names in ruins and carved them into the ships. I think the thing about the ship also touches people sometimes because it is something that has a symbolic value as well. The Vikings saw them as that, but I think people nowadays can see this ship as something that can carry a soul between this life and the next or something. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes we carve runes that would say something special to the client, or if it has to fit the story.
Yeah, and in this case, we're doing finer cut details. So instead of like the keel is completely dark or fumed oak, we have in this case we will insert 2 lines of light color oak. These 2 small, call them biscuits. It's going to be glued into these grooves, and then afterwards this subtle shape is going to be done by hand on the outside of the wood.
Yeah, you see it after they've been glued into it, and then this one has to be shaped into the 3-dimensional shape. Yeah. More details.
More details.
Yeah.
More details, yeah.
Really close up, and here, yeah.
So all of this is of course there's some of the work on the belt sander, but a lot of the time is spent on the bench with all different kind of hand tools. Most of them is something that we have developed ourselves. In this case, just an ordinary small file, but we use many different kinds of tools to get into these curves and special shapes that we're doing on the pieces.
This piece is almost round. I think it was one of the first one we did that where the glass was almost completely round, which is very, very abstract for the shape of the ship, but it's very sculptural and actually quite well. It's a good expression, I think.
Yeah, and this is a really fine close of what Mette talked about earlier, that just the final stroke of the sandpaper changes the line between the dark color oak and the light color oak, because it's so thin, the angle is so steep that that even the smallest change in depth would change the line quite dramatically.
Mm. And here you are.
Yeah.
That is 3 different ones. I think we were in a hurry. We were busy that day, no? Yeah, no, these are almost ready to be glued, to have the glass glued on, yeah. Oh, here you see a lot of different shapes. I think this was before a big exhibition. There's really a lot of
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, this must have, but it's funny to see them without the glass. I mean, they look funny. This is just before the glue process starts up, and that's really the magical moment when, because you have the pieces of glass and you have this keel, and you imagine how they will look. But I mean, the magic moment is when it's actually attached, and it can stand for itself. And yeah, that's beautiful.
You want to take this, Andrew? With the glue process?
Yes. Again, it's very precise work to actually get the pieces to fit together and to glue together. First, you can see it's preparing to glue one side, and then when that's set, it'll be flipped and then glued on the other side. But that's okay. That takes a while, but it's what we've now learned as well. It's the cleaning of the piece afterwards. Although the glue is very precise, there's still small leftovers on glue on both on the glass and on the wood, and these have to be carefully cleaned away before they can final polish and wax. So you can see Paul, our assistant here in the studio, has been with us now for 6 years, I think. He's a specialist now doing this part of the project as well as old work. So now, because Meadow Lasser don't live next door, they've now moved to another city on the other side of Sheerland. So Paul now commutes back and forward occasionally to do the bit of gluing here. So you can see it's all taped up and just preparing for gluing here.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How long have you, the 4 of you, been working together?
What?
All of
6.
us?
Yeah, when did we start? It was before we built the workshop next to you.
Like 5, 6 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And we've been.
No, that was not with ships. That was other small projects that developed onto other bigger projects and some large sculptural work that Lasser thought of here in the town, which is also a big keel or Spanish in Danish, where there's also integrated cast glass. So different kinds of things. And then eventually the ships.
And somebody asked if we had other plans, but you see, the thing about the ships that when we started making those, it's sort of, I mean, it didn't take many weeks before we was invited to the embassy in London to exhibit it there, and from then on we have been quite busy. So I think we are fighting just to keep up and keep develop these pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a floating corn cob, is it?
Oh, no.
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 So this moment after all of the cleanup has been done, you saw the previous image. There was a lot of different toothbrush and once again different kind of custom-made tools to make this cleanup. We don't want to scratch the glass and we don't want to scratch the wood. So it's a very delicate process where we need to be really careful. This moment you see on this image is really the most nerve-wracking that I've ever been doing in my many years of woodworking, is to drill the 2 small holes into the keel that is putting the ship on the base. There's only one shot of doing it right, and I don't want to mess everything up because the entire piece would be broken if I mess it up. So that's not a fun moment.
Oh, you're good at it.
I'm good at it.
And here, of course, are some of the pieces that are almost completed. Just, I mean, the base has to be mounted and the wax has to be added. Then it's ready. And here's Lasse mounting one of the base foots.
First, I think when you go a couple of pictures back, you can see Meda standing here with a piece. You can see that from where Lasse's got the piece there to Meda's got the piece, how the color of the glass and the wood is coming out. And this is when it gets its final polish, which is this reuse of mixture of beeswax and oil, which sort of absorbs into the wood, but also absorbs into the surface of the glass, which has been sandblasted and polished with pimstone. So it's still a little bit open in the pores, but on the final polish, it sort of comes a lot deeper, a lot richer in colors.
That's where it gets personality.
Yeah.
I guess that we don't have of them waxing, but they wax both the wood and the glass together, correct?
Yes.
If you go one back, Mary, there's the video, I think. Oh, one more back. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah, you're going forward. This one, is this a video?
Well, it's not playing, so I apologize.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, but there it is, all polished up, and it's a combination of honey and beeswax. Is that what you said?
Beeswax and oil. Yes.
Beeswax and oil. Okay.
Yeah. Something we haven't mentioned here, you can see on this picture, if you go and zoom in, if you can't zoom in, but if you look at the front keel between the glass and the wood, there's two small pieces of silver, which is not silver, it's argentium, it's like platinum, which is also small details, which is being produced by our local silversmith.
The thing we found out, and it's really visible on this image, is that the fun thing about merging these two materials is that normally if you have a pure glass sculpture, the light travels all the way through the entire sculpture. But in this case, because of the wood kind of like splits the two halls of glass, the light would not travel as much within the glass as a full-on glass sculpture. So it really changes the full appearance of the glass and the transparency of it, and kind of like takes the glow of the wood into the glass and merging these two materials.
It adds a depth, I think, to the glass. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You see it here also, like the glass is more light colors in the middle, where the wood it does not touch the wood. Where it touches the wood, it gets very dark. And I know, of course, there's something about the color in the glass, but also the wood would block the transparency of the glass, and that makes this three-dimensional feeling.
Do you want to talk about this?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. This piece is a special piece. It's the largest blown piece we made. It's called Viking, and it was commissioned by Fox, the network Fox Sports, when they built a studio at the Red Square in Moscow for the World Cup. And they commissioned 3 of the largest pieces we have made so far. And it was really fun for us to watch their broadcasting from the World Cup, because these 3 ships would stand on the studio, and it was quite an amazing setup.
And are they still in Moscow?
No, they've been sold. I mean, they actually rented these pieces, and afterwards we sold them. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Here's a smaller.
Yeah, here's a smaller piece. Yeah, I love that. Also before a big show, I think.
Yeah, must be.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment here about, I think it's a nice picture, but where we're based, our studio, glass studio now is based in Hundested, was on the opening from the Roskilde or Isefjord that sailed out to the Kattegat Sea. And just on the other side of the fjord here, there's a natural bay or natural harbour, and there's been told stories about how the ships, the Vikings, were there to protect the opening of the harbour. So you can nearly imagine all the ships which are drawn up onto the beach, because the waters are very deep, and therefore they can sail right up onto the sands. So this gives And actually, if you look just through the middle of the ships here, you can actually see over to the bay the
On
other
the
side.
other side, yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
And it was a great trading area for Vikings back then. So there would have been a lot of ships there. Yeah. And it's nice to know also that just outside these windows, the Viking would used to pass and sail, because there has been found wreckage in the, Andrew, help me here.
Yes, it's called Skudderlu. Further down the fjord here, there was found several, in fact, it's 6 ships which were sunk in the Viking period as barrage or blockage under the sea, so the attacking Vikings couldn't attack the city of Roskilde. And these are the ships which have been now lifted up and restored and in the Viking Museum. And these ships are actually all the way from Dublin, the largest one, Howhingston, which is a huge ship. It's just over 30 meters long. But that was actually recently built in Dublin, in Ireland.
Yeah.
What do you mean by recent?
Reconstructed.
They found them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reconstructed, okay.
Yeah.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that working fishermen are right outside in this harbor now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, they
This is
are.
a sea you can see from here. So.
And when we made the first couple of these ships like in 2016 in the spring, and we held a small exhibition just at our studios, and the fishermen came in and they were sort of laughing, and they wanted to take them out to the sea to try if they were able to sail, but I think we stopped them.
Okay. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and this is actually the Kattegat Sea, which it's the sea that it's just in the middle of Scandinavia. So we got Denmark on one side, Sweden on another side, and then to the north we got Norway. So this would, that would be a busy place in the Viking era.
I was just thinking, Maddie, do you want to tell the story about this particular piece?
Please.
It's a large piece, yes.
Yeah, this piece was, but it went to the climate convention, the UN climate convention in, let me think, it was in 16? Yeah. I think it was 2016. The Nordic Minister Council would exhibit something of Danish culture and craft and art there, and they brought this ship. And that was a great honor, because a lot of people from all over the world came by and saw our ship. Yeah, that was really nice.
Well, I know you haven't had many exhibits this year where people can come in public, but let's see, we first saw you at SOFA Chicago, and I believe, were you at in Miami at Art Basel as well?
No, it was, well, we were in Miami, and it was, what was it called now? It was the part of the SOFA show which moved to Miami.
From Miami, I think.
For Miami,
yeah,
it was, yes. And then we've been in Art Palm Beach a few years now.
Yeah.
And Chicago.
And Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that you can come back, and as Duncan said, we have a large kiln, and if you ever want to pursue,
nice.
Residency with woodworking, I think Duncan had offered that to you earlier, and that would be really, really wonderful.
We'd love to have you.
Well,
okay,
we'll turn up one day.
Mary,
The weather's a bit better there.
Yeah.
some people have asked about what works are available. Mary, do we have that catalog link, or should they email me?
We do have a catalog link. I was not able to put it in the chat because I was sharing my screen, but we do have a catalog of all available pieces. There are some in the gallery and some in the studios ready to be shipped to you. And we're happy to either put that link in the chat or
you can email us and we'll send it to you.
Sure. Irene at dmglass.com. And they'll also be uploaded on the website, of course, as well. A beautiful selection of work, all sizes, colors, the detail as you saw today, just magnificent. So please do inquire, and we'll get that right up on the website as well. So thank you folks so much. I know
Thank
that,
you.
I don't know if you'll be able to
Thank
go
you.
right
Thank you.
now, but yeah.
This was great. Farewell.
Oh, well.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.